I'm gonna ride my bike and sleep and wake up right, and then you realize, like, listen, life goes on. There's different responsibilities in life as well, you know.
Audio Jungle.
Okay, welcome to Let's Talk Cycling with Almost Elites. We've got real elites this time on the show, so big ups to RKC Collective for joining us. We're very excited. We've got lots to talk about. Even just now offline, there's been lots to laugh about. So I'm really excited to get into it. Welcome, gents. We've got Rowan and Chris.
Thank you very much for having us. And I think it's exciting for us to do things like this with like-minded people, and especially just in enthusiasm that you guys bring to the sport from a different perspective. It's exciting. It's nice to see. I think this is the first time I saw you guys were at provincials. I was like, I just love this. I thought you guys knew somebody in the group, and then afterwards I realized that you guys did not know someone in the group. And thanks for having us. It's nice to be here.
Yeah. So I think let's get started with a quick intro. Name, how old are you, brief history, and all that good stuff.
I'm Rowan Deploy. I'm 29 years old, and I've basically been cycling since 14, 15 years old. I basically started in grade 8, grade 9. I think the main reason I started riding was like my dad cycled, uncle cycled, my granddad cycled, so everybody on my dad's side cycled just for leisure, just riding the August and 9 4.7 most of the time. And I think that's kind of, I just was wanting to do that with them on a weekend or something. That was I think that was when I started, and basically just went from there. Did not really do too much school sports. I did a little bit of running at school, but not for too long. And then I think the cycling bug bit quite early.
Okay. And Chris?
I started so more or less, I think, a bit earlier. Obviously competitive at the more or less the same age as Rowan. I think me and Rowan has raced together the first time, or against each other as under 16s. Like a 16 tours, so I'm 28 this year, and so a year younger than Rowan. So like in age categories, every second year we used to race against each other. He's always a bit the senior one moving on, and I'll move on a bit later. But I've been racing more or less at the same time. I started riding very early. I started riding at 8 or 9 with my parents used to ride. My parents is from a very sporty background, and I grew up in a small Karoo town, so for them it was their leisure sport as well, was cycling, and my mom and dad were sort of running the cycling club in town type of thing. And then I started riding probably the age of 8 or 9. I started riding, and then joining them on longer rides at about 10, 12 or 11, like riding like the 3-hour rides type of thing, and doing August at 12. So since then, and then racing since high school, same as Rowan. And then since then, high school, I did do sports. I'm not gonna lie, I tried to do everything just to be social. I did my cycling, but I did rugby and I did hockey, and I did whatever I could to be social and go on trips on tours and stuff. It was fantastic for me. In a small town, sport is a way for us to see the world. So if you live in a small Karoo town, like, sport is a way of you getting to the beach as a 12-year-old with your mates, because you're going on a hockey trip or something. So that's the wonderful thing about sports. So I did do that, and then since school, then it was sort of serious and trying to do it as a profession.
Sure. So you guys have been in this for some time now, eh? Like you know the ins and outs of this the cycling.
I think it's basically also, for me, it's basically, I don't want to say it's all I know, but it's been a big part of my life for well, most of my life, and definitely my teenage life. Yeah, like sometimes you just skip an invite to go to a party with your friends as a teenager, and just to focus on training and racing, and then and then I think it just grew from there.
That's crazy. So one question I always have, like for elites, is how do you keep motivated at that high level, of performance, year in, year out, season in, season out, whether you had a good day out, whether you've had a bad season, you're in form, out of form. Like, you guys always seem to keep that high level of motivation to keep coming back and giving your best. Like, how do you guys keep that?
Yeah, I think it's most certainly a roller coaster. It's definitely not just ups and highs the whole time. I mean, you go through phases throughout the season where you just have bad form, or you crash, or you get an injury, or it's most certainly a really big roller coaster. But I think for me it was, and I'm sure most guys would relate to it, but for me personally it was chasing a dream and chasing success, and then every now and then you would get like a really, really small taste of that success or of that dream. I mean, every youngster out there, when they are in their early teenage years or early 20s, they cycle and they dream to go to races like the Tour de France, to go to the World Championships, to race on the biggest scene out there. And that is what I dreamed of doing. I was riding as a teenager on the indoor trainer most of the time, watching old replay videos that we recorded on the tape recorder of the Tour de France and of the Giro and things like that. And I think it's like you aspire to that. And I think I've gotten opportunities throughout my career to taste some of those smaller races, but to taste the dream. And then, yeah, I think I know for a fact, like mentally and physically, I've pushed myself to my limit. I think, I needed, or not needed, it could have helped me a bit if I had like 5% maybe more in me. But I know for a fact that I pushed myself with the opportunities, with the platform I did have at the time, to try and make it. And it's such a cutthroat sport. I mean, you would be racing a race on a really, really high level in Europe or in China, where there are 200 guys racing, where 50 of those guys would be in a position or strong enough to win that race. I mean, if you like, we are lucky in South African racing to have 50 guys in a bunch. And it's just like, if you like in the continental level of racing, that's the highest level I've been in, like in racing in the competition that I raced against. And there's probably, in Europe alone, there's probably, I want to say, like 50 teams consisting of 12 to 18 riders, and most of them are by a long shot stronger than anyone that's racing locally. And there's guys locally that has the potential and has the power to race with those guys, but not necessarily have the race craft or to be able to race with them. So it's like we all chase numbers. Most people chase numbers, chase power values, chase FTP values, but it's more about having the race craft and to be able to think on the bike. That's what I felt had a big difference. I'm not sure how. I think Chris could also explain it in his way of how he experienced it, and like kind of what kept him motivating. I think I drifted a bit off the topic there.
But
That's good.
Yeah, coming back.
That's long and short. I think how I felt it.
Yeah, like Ron said, coming back to what keeps us motivated and stuff. And I think for me, it always it was sort of a middle path between the two of chasing the dream, like 100% the same as Ron. I was always chasing the European dream. Not gonna lie, like I was always thinking of sports and cycling being my step into Europe or a better life, a better situation. You know, like earning a good living. And as a youngster, there was always a dream, and then you sort of get that hard knocks the first few years on 23, and you realize like, right, maybe I might not be able to be super wealthy or be a Tour de France rider or winner or whatever, but I might be able to be good, you know. I might be able to chase, and then you do get that taste of small success. You know, you do go over, and you, like, I draw a lot of motivation from just big rides, like not realistically always results, but my influence I have on a race, or you know, what changes I could bring to a race or influence I can have to the team. And like, if as long as you, like, sort of through my career I had from this, but if I can have an influence, I can draw motivation from that. And then yeah, that side definitely. And then a big draw point for me, it was always just the point. It's better than a 9 to 5, you know. Like I think it's always like, if I look,
so that's
yeah, you know, like I was always willing more to the grafts, and to be 5 hours on the bike to tend to, you know, like, and so in some ways it worked out, but in some ways it was always almost a failure as well in my life, where, you know, like, it's gone too far in the way of chasing that dream. But yeah, I think it's always, as long as you stay happy and you stay motivated in a way of chasing that small goals. And I think we all, a lot of the time, we fail in a way in our dreams and our goals, but we do get that sort of good feeling from catching that small bit of success in small ways of big rides and big, you know, big achievements, in a way where there's nothing behind your name, but you played a part.
Yeah, no, that's a good springboard to kind of the next thing I want to kind of find out. I mean, you know, you'd rather spend 5 hours on the bike as opposed to a 9 to 5. You know, what are some of the other stuff that you guys get up to off the bike? You know, I know, Rowan, you're a coach, and you know, what are the other things that you get up to?
Yeah, so yeah, I think since the last 2 years or 3 years, since I really stepped away from international racing, when I started racing a lot more locally, I think my daily life got a lot busier than it has been in the last 5 years. Yeah, as you said, I on the side I do coaching, and then I also work for a application, like a coaching application that's based in Amsterdam, called Join. So it's basically, what they do is, it's an algorithm-based adaptive training platform. So you enter on this application a goal. Let's say it might be the cycle tour, and you enter your availability into the app, and based on that and your current fitness levels, it will plan a training program for you. Yeah, so that's a bit, that the cycling, the coaching, and the work for the application keeps me quite busy throughout the day. Yeah, and then on the side I would also play some golf. So some days are maybe too busy, and then you always try to squeeze in a 9 holes or a driving range session here and there.
Yeah, similar to Ron, I think that he stepped away from, and he decided to do the working side a bit earlier than me. But since last year we had a bit in the distribution of cycling products, and then this year I just joined Cycle Fit, which is a bicycle fitment company, and we do bicycle fitments and assessments. So yeah, since the last 2 months I've been with them and working, I won't say a full-time job, but it's some of the days are big hours, but it's still in the industry, and I'm working in it. They're definitely a lot more busier than, like Ron said, you're like having to manage a lot more your time and riding a bit early in the mornings, and yeah, getting back to actually to a job. And I think it's what we all got to the realization of what we have to do to stay in the sport as well. And I think Ruan has pulled a lot from it. And if I've spoken to him, and I think, yeah, you can see he's drawn a lot of motivation from it. And I think he fell in love more with the sport, you know, like being able to manage that side, and seeing he's able to be still competitive. And last year being proven, like he had hard knocks in the beginning of the season, and he was able to come back on a very big form with working 2 jobs. And like if you know Ruan, he's a sociable guy. He's not going to be stuck up and not doing nothing. So like I think a guy like Ruan also like showed to me that it's possible, and I draw a lot of motivation seeing how good he was, that it's possible. And like it's where we all, it's a phase of in your season of your life, I guess. And I was speaking the other day, like 2-3 years ago, I wasn't willing to do this for like I wasn't willing to sacrifice my training and stuff for this. I was like I was adamant, and now I'm gonna ride my bike and sleep and wake up right. And then you realize, like, listen, life goes on. There's different responsibilities in life as well, So yeah, I guess you come to a point in the season, and as long as you're happy to make the decision, I think your cycling will still improve.
Yeah, Chris, I'm a big fan. I've watched you create very impactful breakaways, man. And I think for me, the biggest one was the Cape Town Cycle Tour. Very, very exciting moment there, seeing you create the break and the guys joining you, and a lot of youngsters also joining you to work with you, and you officially crossing that line. Tell us a bit about that race and what it meant for your career. Very big moment for you, I'm assuming.
Yeah, no, definitely. Like I was always saying, like growing up, I raced my first August or Cape Town Cycle Tour as a 12-year-old. Last year was actually my 15th one. And I was really like, it was a race you love and everything. And growing up as a cyclist, like dreamed of racing in Europe and racing the big league and whatever. And then the secondary goal was always, I want to win that bloody race. I always knew it was going to be hard for me as I'm not a sprinter at all. I can sprint when it's a hard day out and it's a tough day or it's tricky or something. I can sprint and I can pull through. Like I generally say, my watts stay the same. If it's 50 k's or 200 k's, my watts stay the same. So if the others are going to be tighter, my sprint watts, then I can sprint. But I always knew that's going to be hard. But like I must admit, riding in the Guru and training as a lighty, in your mind dreaming, I was always dreaming about riding away at August. So last year leading up, I was genuinely not 100% focused on August. Always you want to be good there and you want to be at your best, but it was not like I was saying in January, I'm working on an 8-week goal or something for August. But it did work out that in that way, because I'd literally for 7 weeks leading up to that, we were either traveling or racing. We literally did a few races in Johannesburg with provincials and races around Johannesburg, and then we left for national champs, which was in Oudtshoorn. So we traveled down there. We did 2 races down there with the crit and the road race, which is probably like, okay, you're getting slaughtered, but it's probably like played a role in that build up towards that. And then straight from there we traveled to Namibia and super heat, like super hot there. There's like 3 stages of double days in that tour. You race for 5 days, but you do 7 stages. So you like, it's double days, it's a crit in the morning, time trial in the afternoon, a road stage and a crit in the afternoon. So you're doing proper double days of racing. And straight from there, we traveled back, spent 2 days at home, and I traveled down for Tour de Cap. And the big difference it made, I think, was also then we raced a week of Tour de Cap, and then we had a week to recover in between. We didn't go into Cape Town Cycle to fatigue or anything. And then, so we could actually race. Like, I guess in the last few years, we always raced, like, same as going to be this year. We raced Tour de Cap onto the Friday. And for us, as my style of rider, that's where we can make a difference in a race, and we almost like override the tour. And you arrive at Cape Town Cycle Tour fatigued, and you can make a difference, but you spend 5 days of racing yourself. And then generally, I was always riding support for someone in Cape Town Cycle Tour. And then this year it was totally different. Last year, we didn't have someone we can rely on to say we're going to pace for, or we're going to set up a move for the sprint in Cape Town Cycle Tour. And then, I had a bunch of youngsters as teammates last year, and they were somehow something that's worked that week. We all just so fired up and motivated for results. And we were like conking the whole, every night sitting, planning on like these ideas. And like every night I got fed up with them. I left dinner table. I was like, every dinner can't turn into a team meeting, you know, like. And then we all had this idea, and we had the idea of trying to like launch something on Chappies and Suikerbossie to get a group really small. But I always realistically know, like, the pace is so hard there, so fast. I've tried it so many times in my life, you know, like, but I was willing to give it a shot, you know, like that, to get it on that 2 climbs small. And then, yeah, so the plan was for me to be hiding all the way until there. And then what happened is, like, I don't know how it happened, but there was moves up the road, and the 2 oaks that was what was supposed to look after me for the first 70 Ks or the race or whatever, looked after me perfectly for the first 40 Ks or whatever, to until Simonstown or so. And then they came and fetched me at the back of a peloton, which is totally unnatural for me. I never sit at the back and chill or whatever. And I was literally on the highway sitting at the back and being calm and I don't know how I could do it, but it worked out that day. For me, I stayed calm in a way that I never did, and I've never done after that again. And they came and fetched me like twice and asked, do I need to be? And I'm like, no, it's fine. We don't need to be in the front yet. And they literally took me to the front, going between Fishhook and Simonstown. And then there was a little move up the road, and I asked Ron to do a bit of an effort to cross to there was like a move of like about 10 guys already up the road. And he rode across, and I was like on the wheel, and I can see he was going quite well. And then that's when you realize, like, some days you just click and you're like, okay, this is like, I was looking behind me and like the race is in a line, but I was almost asking Ron to go faster. And then, you know, as we got there, I took a bit of a flyer on that group, and then, yeah, I never looked back. And then 2 oaks jumped with me. And then, yeah, I got them motivated to ride with me, Nick James and can't remember the oak from our Cape Town team. And then, yeah, a few Ks later, another three guys joined us as we hit the slopes of Smitswinkel. And then, yeah, from there it was you sort of like had to convince a few guys to ride. Like, it was 3 of us that was convinced to ride from the start. And then Jaden wasn't too convinced to ride at the time because of their alliance with Mark at the time. And then he wasn't really willing to ride in the beginning. And then as soon as we got over Smitswinkel, they came and gave a time gap, and I lied to him. I told him it was 3 minutes, and he started riding. And because he thought it's too far for Mark to cross. And it did go up to 3 minutes just after that. And then, yeah, sort of then I knew I wasn't willing to, like, I was always holding back. I was riding pretty hard, I'm not gonna lie. There was times where we were riding hard, but I was always keeping back because I knew the speed that they're up, although Chappies is hard and it feels, but just the speed the bunch creates up there is so fast. You know, like a slip of a pedal here and there up Chappies can bring back a minute quickly. So, but then, yeah, it's like after Chappies, I saw we still 2 minutes city, I think, up the road. And then I was like realizing, okay, I was always planning in my head who's going to chase behind. And I was planning, okay, unless all the mountain bikers combine with DMS to ride at the back, like, it's not 2 or 3 hours combining behind us, was not going to bring us back. So then I rode hard for another 10 Ks, and then I I was willing to risk it, because as soon as we were down to 4 oaks, like, I was just saying in my mind, I'm not getting 4th here. I'd rather have the bunch catch me with 2 Ks to go. And, you know, like, I'm not getting 4th at August. You know, I was 5th 3 times in a row before in chaotic sprints where I just sort of slipped around the side, or everyone was sprinting and fading and I could snip by for 5th. So I was like, I'm not getting 4th here. So I was willing to, I saved a lot in the final, and I tried to play it smart as possible. I was just thought, I was not willing to get 4th out of that group. I would rather have been caught in. It's
I think congratulations on like that.
That's all.
Really impressive. And I think in the manner that you did it, it was really like a movie to watch, you know, because we could tell that you were trying to get guys to work with you, and everything that you're saying is making sense now in terms of you holding back.
I'm so fortunate for the videos and the live feed being so clear, because I can tell you, like, if I had to rely on my own, the last 10 Ks is a blank for me. That was just natural instinct. There was nothing planned, nothing I could train. Nobody could teach me that, nothing. That was, I couldn't tell you afterwards how the race was won. I knew how we got there, and I remember going through like Camspa and saying, like, it's it's either getting caught or win. Like, I'm not getting
Wow.
fourth. Yeah.
Yeah. And then Rowan, I mean, you also had a pretty good season, if I may say so myself, with the big win at AmaShova in the most treacherous conditions ever. Can you perhaps maybe tell us about that as well?
Yeah, I think my year started off okay. I think after actually during Good Hope in the phase of August last year, I got COVID, and after COVID, I developed like pericarditis, that's inflammation around your heart. And that was just due to a viral infection. It's like we are always at the risk of getting it, even after flu. But now with COVID, it's just a bit more of we all are at risk, even if you're an athlete or not. I got that, and then I had to be off the bike for I think at least 2 months, and then like really started just doing walking. That was my first form of exercise. Is a general like a 10-minute walk around the block. And during that time I was let go of my from my team at the time, so that was also quite like it was quite a spiral of things. I mean, I was already quite in a deep dark place just because of me being sick, and then when that also happened, then that also had quite a knock on me mentally. And it's just I've been through my life I've had a few disappointments, a few things or setbacks, and I know myself, and I knew I would have been able to come back from it, because I've proven it to myself before, that when something like knocks you down, you just get up one more time. And I think I took that entire experience I went through, I took that as motivation. And the very first time I got back on my bike, I would never forget. I told my fiance that I'm going to win AmaShova this year. I don't know for what team I'm going to ride for, or how I'm going to get there, but I'm going to win AmaShova this year. But I think I was maybe a week or so on my bike, and then I got in contact with, at the time it was Spaces, a cycling team. So I joined up with them. I think it was a month or two, maybe 2 months. I think before AmaShova, and then all my training, every session that I did was just leading up to that. It's a race I've been wanting to win for a long time, and it's a race that me as a rider, it really challenges, just like even on a dry day, with like the climbs and like just all of that. And then on the day we got the climbs and the weather. But it's like sometimes like if you like, I can find myself riding well in like really bad weather, like really windy days or like rainy days. But I think it's just like on the day you have to be prepared for it mentally. And when I woke up that morning, I was like, yeah, that's fine. I'm good to ride in the rain today. I did not really expect the weather to be that bad. It was probably the worst weather I've ever ridden in. And then also racing. So there was quite a few scary moments during the race, but I was just like super focused. I think I can recall 5 times in my career where I've been so focused, where you almost go, like a few years ago, I learned of the term called flow. So it's kind of being in the flow of the moment, being in the flow of what you are doing. And I think I just, from that morning to the end of the race, I was like in the space of flow. And I think I had to go afterwards and look at the live stream to see what happened and like what actually developed in the race, because I can just recall two like periods in the race where I can like, okay, I can recall that. But then like the last 10 kilometers or something was just like a plain, like I think the same. I think Chris was also like in a moment of like flow, of like super focusedness, and you don't think of anything else. You don't take anything else in. I probably had discussions with people. I probably thought of not going through the deepest trench of water, or basically a river flowing over the road. But it's just, I think I think just the entire build up and everything from, I think the last time I rode my bike was just after August, and to racing AmaShova. I think that entire build up just helped me, like mentally, emotionally, to be able to do that. And yeah, leading up to the last kilometer or so, I would not have said that I was the fastest in the group, because you had Jaden Tolo, which is a mountain biker, but he's not a bad sprinter himself. You had Gustav Basson in there, that's also not a bad sprinter himself. And yeah, so I think I just went on like experience and like knowing where to go, how to go, and going like not again, like kind of into the wind, but kind of going around the outside when it's like kind of maybe slightly sheltered from the wind. Yeah, so I think, yeah, it was really, I think that was one of the highlights in the last few years in my career, to be able to pull something like that off. Yeah, after what I've been through in the last few months leading up to that.
No, you know what, guys, I take my hat off to you guys, man. I really is amazing stuff to hear these legendary stories, man, and like chat to guys who've actually done it. I think it's really amazing, and the motivation is really good for us, man. Who still want to ride at that level. So yeah, thank you guys for that. I think what I wanted to ask you guys, as a team. So you guys have a team, right?
Yeah, RKC Collective.
Yeah. So tell us about that bad boy. Where did it come about? How did the name come about? How did you guys form it? How did it come about?
Yeah, Chris, should I go or you go?
You can go.
Yeah, so basically, yeah, towards the end of last year, I've learned that my team at the time would not continue. Chris and Kent and Keenan also learned that their team would not continue into 2024. And there was actually quite a few other teams that was in the same position. And then we just kind of started chatting. I think it actually happened like early November, like actually even I think in October, we were starting to chat and to see what are the possibilities. What can we do? Like, are we just gonna sit back and say, cool, this is it? And I don't think any one of us, well, I know that not any one of us was in a position to say that I'm done now. I just want to stop. It's like Chris came off from a high in his career. I came off from a high, and Kent and Keenan also came off from a high with the success of their team. And then, yeah, I think just between the four of us talking, we kind of we made a decision and say we're going to try to do something. It's we want to still support and almost in a way save elite racing in South Africa. I think it's in a dire strait at the moment. The fields are not big. I mean, we probably have 40-50 guys racing. As we all know, in the current state of affairs, finding a sponsor is not easy. And then we just decided, whatever comes our way, we are gonna make this work. If it's from a self-funded thing, if it's racing every race on our own equipment, our own kit, our own things, we will race as a four-man team to try and make it work. So I think that's kind of how it started. And then as we started like getting like kind of the ball rolling, we got in contact with one person and the next person, and then it came. Yeah, we were like very fortunate enough to quite early on establish a relationship and a sponsorship with Chavita. They really came on board, and they were our first sponsor, and like a really good, full, generous sponsor of racing kit and custom kit and just general apparel for on the bike. Yeah, and then we just never stopped, and we are not stopping. We are continuing to look for new avenues, new ways of like finding people to support our passion. And our passion is to race our bikes, to grow a community, to uplift the community, to just have fun, but also be super competitive. Yeah, and then at this stage we have secured a few sponsors. We have Chavita. We recently got Base Protocol eyewear. We got Met helmets, and then we've got Plus race wheels. And it's a really nice group of people that we are getting in contact with. We've got Normet Sports that's been like, I've been with them a few years ago with ProTouch, and yeah, so it's just really amazing and awesome to see how things are starting to slowly but surely fall in place. And then yeah, we're still out there looking for financial backing in small, big, in any form of way. And that's so this year we'll focus to do some road racing mostly. We'll do a bunch of criteriums, and we'll also focus quite a bit on the gravel scene, because I think that's a really big it's growing quite into a big sport or a big discipline at this stage. That's the long and the short of basically how the team started. And RKC we got from our names. It's like R is for Ruan, the K is for Kent and Keenan, and the C is for Chris. So basically that's what we want. We want unit, we want group, and we with the same objective, the same passion, and that's to have fun, you know.
But yeah, man, it's always great to see a very good team working together. And I think we are excited to see what are you guys going to be able to achieve in the next couple of races. I mean, Chris mentioned earlier, you know, the whole role of having to play support in Cape Argus back then. And I think one of the most challenging things as a cyclist is knowing, you know, how to park your own goals and prioritize the team goals and think about the bigger picture. Can you maybe tell us about the challenge of balancing your own goals versus, you know, the goals of the team?
Yeah, if I can just jump back quickly to the previous, and it will flow into this, is like, I think it's sort of unspoken between us. I mean, you've never mentioned it between us, but it's like sort of, I think we've got 3 goals between the team of us this year, and going forward, it is like, basically we want to have fun, and within that we want to grow the community around us. And I think one of our biggest goals is growing the community and growing our community around us, because that's just the biggest way we will create support for ourselves and keep it fun. And you will sort of like, that's where we're going to create momentum and motivation from in the future, you know, like when it's going tough, you know, okay, if we've got a community behind us it's willing to help us, and that's going to create our image, if you want to say it that way. And then secondly, for us, it's just like growing and funding, growing into a fundable project for someone. You know, we out there to put ourselves out there, and we want to have this thing grow, but we need a financial backing some way or another. So I think our secondary goal is that, and then coming from that is performance based. We all, even though we might look fun, you might see us at a race having fun and having a beer afterwards, and we have a beer partner. I think that was one of the first things we mentioned in December, is like Mad Giant is coming on board with giving us some beers, and it's like, it just sounded fun, you know, like, so it like might take fun, but I think performance is one of our big goals as well. And then if I can go back then, if you're talking about being a team player and whatever, and I think that's where community comes in. And if you can't grow a community around you and a team, in the end of the day, it's a community base, and it spills over, and more than just the riders, it's staff. It's like, I think we've all been I've been part of South African setup and European setups where you really experience the way of having staff members being 100% crucial role of, I mean, if you are forced to race these products, not forced, you're privileged to be sponsored these products, but then having someone on board as a mechanic, whatever, to get the best out of that product. And, you know, and the same with nutrition wise, and that spills over into that, and that spills over back into racing wise. Like, I might not be the best at this, But I feel in the end of the day, if everything is how it should be, you are a crucial part. Every race you start, and if you're gonna take your little block out, your team is not maybe gonna fall, because one on that day he might be able to do 150%. So you can, but if you're gonna every race your block out, it's gonna affect the team down the line, and then down the line when it's your opportunity, it's just not gonna work out. So I think it's that community build of I need to work for, and it's not for the team. Although some days it might from the inside it looked like she's constantly this August, this August. And I'm not gonna lie, that at times in the team it does get frustrating. But good guys are good for a reason, you know. They work hard, and sometimes luck is on their side. But I think it's proven around, like if that community sense is good, there's always chance for someone else as well in the team. And it's just that, like, it's a mindset we all have to learn from young. I think we all are, you are a bit selfish when you're younger. You're racing as a 16, 17-year-old. You just think, oh my, I'm putting in all of this. And especially that's where parental pressure always comes in, because at that stage it's most of the time parental funded. They're funding you to go somewhere. Now you have to help someone else. You know that it is a quite of a mental struggle block to come over. But as soon as I think we all mature in a way, you realize, firstly, this is just more worth it. You'll always have a job. You'll always have a part in the team if you're willing to do this. And then it's just more fun. I mean, if I have to go and put pressure on myself for AmaShova, for Fast One, for every single race that maybe not suit me, it's just, I'm not going to have fun. But it's much more fun for me to be able to play a role and help Ruan in a situation where he's 100% the best oak in the country for that day. And I'm privileged to be part of that day. And that's where I draw the motivation to be able to be a team player.
Yeah, no, that's great. That's great, Chris. I think I really love what you say in terms of the community mindset that you guys have adopted. And maybe a question for you, Rowan. I think you mentioned growing the community around you and getting more people into the sports perhaps. So in your opinion, I mean, what do you think is missing in the South African cycling scene for it to become similar to the Europes? How do we get more people into the sport? How do we get sponsors? Because I think that's a big gap currently in South Africa.
Yeah, for sure,
those sponsors come and go. Yeah.
If I can give a short answer, but I will elaborate. And I think it's for more people to fall in love with the sport. And in my opinion, and for what I've experienced in the last 15 years, is that for people to fall in love with the sport, they need to see racing. They need to see action. They need to be involved in small or a big way. And I'm not talking financially. I'm talking about being involved in the whole circus of racing, of cycling. Because the racing part of cycling is very, very small. I mean, it's in South Africa very small, but in the world it's also very small. And personally, I believe that we need to be looking at doing more criterion-based racing. So Jeremy Martins is the guy that took the bull by the horns, and he's like, I'm going to start a criterium series. And I remember I went to one of the very first ones he hosted at Boxwood Stadium with, I think there was 15 people maximum. And people just like weekend after weekend and month after month, just like 15 became 20 and 20 became 100. And I truly believe that is where we should be focused on, as the elite level or on an amateur level, as a AL or a BL bunch, is to kind of have 3 different categories of criterium racing, where you have the kind of the elites and maybe some VA races, and then you have like a B group that rides maybe some of the VB, VCs, and maybe some of the front end guards of the AL batch. Or it's like you can actually just come and race where you want, to be honest. But to have three different options in groups of catering for the racing snakes, the medium guy, and the guy that just wants to have some fun on the bike, do a 50-kilometer safe environment riding where cars don't pass you, you're not worrying about potholes, and things like that. Like at this point, Jeremy has a circuit out by Lord's View, and he's constantly looking for more and new options. Where it's a circuit of, I think, around 2.5 kilometers roughly, and there's just left-hand corners. It's safe to ride. The roads are safe. It's a controlled environment, and I believe that is where you can create a bit of a festival. Because if you look at what they do in Europe, like my background is mostly in Belgium, where they have every, I think a few times during the week, but mostly on weekends, they have a like from a small pub or a small church, they have a bazaar, and then from the bazaar there's a beer tent, and then the beer tent there's music, and the beer and music attracts people, and the people brings a cyclist. And I really think that is where we should be looking at, and should be looking at growing the sport, rather than trying to host a open road race of 90 kilometers. And basically, I can already envision the circuit that we are racing. I think it starts the 25th of February is the first one. On that circuit, have a few extra gazebos, have some music, get a liquor license, or somebody can have a liquor license and have a beer tent, and have some music and have a festival. And then through that, you will attract a potential sponsor, because out of 10 people, not 10 people is going to sponsor or host an event or contribute to an event, but that one person might know another guy that is potentially looking at just growing his brand, creating awareness to his brand, and like he can just host one of the events, or just like in that way, come to the race, have some fun, enjoy the racing, see the racing. Because it's like my parents, they've always wanted to come to racing. My family has always been involved and 100% supportive of what I'm doing, but I feel so guilty for them coming to a race of 2.5 hours. They see me start and they see me finish. They don't see me, they don't hear me. There's not a Twitter feed, there's not a live video, there's nothing. But if I invite them to the criterium racing, in a space of 1 hour, they'll probably see me 20 times. They will see the race involved. They will see, oh, Ruan is not only setting the bunch, he's actually attacking. Or Ruan is just setting the bunch today. So they can kind of get involved in the racing. It's like, I think I've had the longest discussion about races when it was a criterium with my family, because they can actually say, oh, on lap 5, I realized you were at the back of the bunch. What happened? I saw you attack. It's like, I think what I'm trying to get to is like, it's to get people to come to races, we need to make it attractive. And that is, in my opinion, doing criterium racing. And yeah, I think for what I've seen, what you guys have been doing the last few weeks, I think you come and do one of the criteriums on the 25th. I think it would be once a month, maybe some months would be one extra. Do it, it's the way you guys race. I've seen in your videos. That is, if you do that in a criterium, that is criterium racing. That is the excitement. That is the energy that you need. And I think in one of the criteriums, or maybe every one of them, I'm going to bring myself my bra and a speaker and some Mad Giant beer, and then have a Mad Giant beer and a bra and music.
Yeah, no, we've actually been in contact with Jeremy, so I'll go to the first one just to have a look at what it looks like, maybe take some content, which is also quite key, I think, in exposing the sport to people who are currently maybe.
I think the biggest thing is it's just if you envision what you are doing, and if you think back to Europe, there's hundreds of people doing that. I think Ruan can thank us for that. We both have raced a few seasons in Belgium. If you it's the same faces at every race, there's the same Tani coming there. They're just super passionate about the race. She'll give you bottles, give you a Coke. She doesn't even know you are. She just knows you're the foreign South African. They'll support you. They know your name. And I always try to say my first time when I went to Europe, I was a 17-year-old racing, junior racing there, and you're racing. Actually, you're very lucky if you go as a junior, because you end up racing world-class riders. because when we go as under 23s and elites, they already world tour. You know, like they already turned world tour. Like when we were juniors, I was in the same bunch as Van der Poel and Van Aert. I was doing crits with Peterson and stuff like that. You know, like we didn't know, but he was killing us. You know, but you know, like so you're very lucky. And then for that instance, you know, like you're going in doing crits, and you're in a breakaway, and there's a car in the front with a massive speaker on, and as he passes the mass crowds or the biggest crowds, he reads off the names and the numbers of who's in the break and what you've scored, because a lot of the racing there works on prims, where there's every third or second lap you race for a €5 or €10 prim, and then as soon as they figure out you doing, I was in by the 10th lap of a 25 lap race, half of the crowd sort of a sudden like cheering your name, and you're like, how the hell does this work? You don't know what this is, but you have Tannies and Worms standing next to the road cheering for you, and then you realize afterwards that's how involved they make the people, you know, like. And it's like, it's a crazy thing. I went to a crit in as a junior, and after we were told that the population of this little town, like obviously it's like it's not far from a big city, so it's not like it's in the middle of nowhere, but it's if you must imagine like a Magalies or something close to Brussels, something not too far, whatever. The population was 4,000 people, but for a junior race with the current world champion, there was 4,000 people just in the last kilometer. So yeah, so if you can imagine, it's just the level of involvement at a junior level already. I'm not speaking about elites and professionals racing. This is school kids racing.
Whoa.
So it's involvement and making it fun for people.
Yeah, that's amazing. I think, and I agree with you. I think there's so much we can do, especially like what you guys are painting in terms of, you know, the crit and making sure that we bring the fun to the cycling and make it more accessible to people. But I think if you look at the landscape we're in, like, you know how you guys mentioned you guys maybe started from an early age. I think you find a lot of people want to race, right? Want to do better, want to join these high impact and strong sort of rides and races, but they're in that training phase, right? So coming from you guys, what do you guys think is critical for people who are trying to take the sport seriously, trying to get to that professional scene? Maybe they're riding BL, AL, and they want to maybe make it to, you know, to the proper elites, proper professional. What's the advice you can give those guys to sort of, you know, take their training and just their relationship with cycling to the next level?
Yeah, and if I may add there, Lizo, I think it's always good to marry training with nutrition. You know, we speak about beer tents. You know, is it a good idea to grab a beer the night before a race? So tell us about training in relation to nutrition and that as well.
Yeah. So yeah, I think if I can like share my opinion on what I think somebody should do that's currently racing AL, for example, because in AL it's quite a mixed. It's like you have a 20-year-old, but you also have a 45 or 55-year-old. So for any one of those like riders wanting to go into the license group, I think the most important tip is to build consistency into your training program. You don't have to be on a fixed training program, but just consistency. And when I'm talking about consistency, I'm not saying every single day you have to go ride 2 hours. I'm talking about in a week or a month's period. Just have consistency. Even if you ride 4 times a week, make sure that you ride 4 times a week consistently and building through that month on month, year on year. There's definitely no short way of doing it. You will definitely get somebody that is more talented and sporty than the person next to him. So for that person, it will be a little bit easier. It's like I'm one of the people, I'm not super talented, but I'm a hard worker. Yes, I do have a talent, but I work hard. And I stay focused in what I am doing. So I think personally for me, that is probably the biggest thing that that people do wrong, and also that more is not always better. So just because Chris is riding 5 hours on a Saturday doesn't mean I have to also ride 5 hours on a Saturday. The 5-hour riding works for him. It doesn't necessarily work for me. So it's also in finding what works for you. Is that riding 1 hour on a Tuesday, 2 hours on a Wednesday, maybe rest a Thursday, and then ride Friday, Saturday, Sunday? So that again, that comes in that consistency. And I think it's everybody sells it that hard work pays off, which is true, but you must understand hard work doesn't mean every day you go and punish yourself 2 hours, intervals, training, heel repeats over and over and over. That doesn't, hard work is consistency, and consistency is doing it week in, week out, but also doing the correct training at the correct time. And there, I can't say enough how important like zone 2 easy training is. So keep it easy, just ride your bike, just have fun. But that is the most important thing, is to have fun, because with fun comes your mind's happy, your body's happy, emotionally you're happy, and from happiness you grow. When you are in a depressed state and we are sad, overtrained, you are not going to grow. Yeah, and I think your other question was about like nutrition. Just repeat your question again. Sorry. What was your last question?
Yeah, I was just trying to understand from your perspective the importance of nutrition, to complement your training efforts. Things like, is it a good idea to have a beer the night before a big race and stuff like that? How important is it to watch what you put in your mouth?
Yeah, for 100%. I do believe what you put in is what you get out. That comes to nutrition also. And I would not say there's anything wrong in having a beer the night before, but it's maybe not ideal to have 2 or 3 beers the night before. So that balance is key. So I personally like to have a glass of red wine, even when I was racing on a more professional level. I enjoyed having a glass of red wine. It just maybe puts a tingle in yourself and you have a good night's rest. Yeah, but like I think general nutrition is, I would not say just eat salads and meats or be on like the super strict low carbohydrate diet. I think if you are, because that is where you need to understand the balance, like between performance and nutrition. Like if you undereat or let me put it again. If you do not focus on your nutrition well enough, you cannot expect your body to perform or your body to adapt, even in training. So what I personally like to rather do is look at something like MyFitnessPal, like track my calories when I am in a period of wanting to lose weight. I would rather do something like that. I would make sure I eat enough vegetables throughout the week. I think I try almost every single meal that I do eat to try eat vegetables. And then make sure you have like a portion of carbohydrates and a portion of protein in there. But I think most people are too strict on themselves when it comes to diet, because yes, weight is a really important factor in cycling. I think on any level, weight does have an influence. But for me personally, and I stand by it, and I think it's more important to be focused on consistency and being focused on being prepared for the race, not just mentally, but like make sure your bike is right, you're correct and working, your gears are working, your tires are in a good shape. Then rather than trying to lose a kilogram where you're already 45 years old, for example, and it's already hard to lose weight, and you are kind of working a full day life. So yeah, I think it's more important to focus on other things than generally trying to be on a diet 365 days of the year, because that is also not normal. You can't just lose weight every single month. It's not good. And I do it from a coach's perspective. I do it to my athletes also. Like I don't think I would, like, less than half of my athletes I've ever suggested to them to go on a diet. Whenever they come to me, they join up with me, and the first thing they say, I want to lose weight. I always take a step back and I always say, okay, but what is your current weight? Why do you want to lose weight? And just focus on the training, focus on the consistency. But coming back to the nutrition part, in racing and in training, it is vitally important to look after yourself on the bike. Make sure you fuel yourself for being on the bike. You can't expect yourself to go do a 3-hour training ride or a 3-hour race and the only thing you had for breakfast was a banana. You are not starting off on the right foot. And feeling on the bike, especially in the last few years in cycling, has become a crucial part of professional racing, and it's gone over to amateurs also, where 60 to 80 grams of carbohydrates an hour, if you are not doing that, you are kind of on the back foot already. It's feeling yourself on the bike, and then also feeling yourself after the bike. If you did a hard ride or a hard training session, you are not taking a recovery drink, you're not having like a decent meal afterwards, you can't expect yourself to perform tomorrow. So I think that is my opinion and my take on nutrition. And what you need to understand is also that what works for the one person is not going to work for the other person. It's important to kind of go through these things and see what works for you and what does not. And I think I'm at the point now where I understand how my body works. I understand that if I have 2 beers, for example, it's not going to benefit me tomorrow. It's actually going to make me feel a bit slow. But if I have 1 beer and maybe a shot of tequila, I'll be good for tomorrow.
Thank you so much. That was quite insightful. And maybe on Chris' side, any last words of wisdom before we close? I mean,
nutrition wise or whatever, like I think as someone learned me long ago, it's like we're not dieting and exercising, we're eating and training. And I think that's the biggest thing, is like if you like, okay, maybe in December when we're off or whatever, I'm exercising, but generally we're training. Like it's gone past the point of exercising. You can maybe exercise and diet, but it's not mentally healthy or physically healthy for yourself to be dieting and training. Diet in the sense of we're eating on an eating plan and we're focused on getting in the right amount of carbs and greens and proteins. Yes, maybe that sense of diet or eating plan, but there's no sense of restricting us. You can do it, and you can. I've gotten away with it in the past, but in the long run, it's picked up with me. Going into the season, weighing super light and focusing and flying for January. And okay, I might be winning a stage in Mpumalanga Tour on the 15th of January, but come leading up to the week of cycle tour in the past, I was sick and I'm heavier than I was in December when in November when I was taking off, because I'm sick. My body's keeping back everything, So I think that's the biggest part. And then if you're losing weight, I think it's just patience. Like we all need to lose weight at time, but we're not shifting 5Ks in 2 weeks or that kind of thing. It's a patience game, and it's much more rewarding in the end when you take it off slowly, because then you're actually losing fat and you're just discarding water from your body and muscle cells from stopping itself.
Yeah, and I think it probably sounds like we are borderline drinking beer every single day. It's not always true, but I think that's kind of what I also refer to is like the consistency, or just being, like live life. Have a beer when you feel like having a beer. And I think that is the most important thing that we are trying to find the balance for ourselves with this year, but also trying to kind of come back to growing the community. It's like just have a beer with people on a Thursday evening when you feel like it. And after a race, you know, to have a bit of camaraderie with your competitors and maybe somebody from a different batch or different group, and just, you know, have a social life also in that way. And yeah, and I think that's really what we would like to achieve this year, is to be approachable after races, because I'm guilty of that, of growing, of getting to the habit of, if I'm not on the podium, I get in my car and I leave after a race. It's what do I need? I don't need to be here. I have nothing to do here. But it's rather like changing that mindset of, you know, supporting the race themselves, supporting the people that is at the race, the sponsors, the venue. But then in that way, it also gives us an opportunity to do what we want to do, and that is grow the community and grow our friendship base at the end of the day. So yeah, that's really a big focus for us, is to be approachable for anyone and everyone, even if you just want to say that you had a very bad race, or you want to say how good my race went. It's like, then I can share 5 minutes of how my race went. Yeah, I think that's pretty much what we are and what we want to do.
Guys,
yeah, I think from our side as a team and just as a cycling community, it's thank you to you guys. You know, thank you for being so enthusiastic towards the sport. You know, it's things like it's things like this. It's chats like this. It's seeing you guys at races and people with the same objective that you guys have, and that is fun. That is nice, and I think I consider this and what you guys are doing a community, and that is nice. You know, that's good to see, and it's good to have in the sport, and it's a small sport, and we all should be here trying to help one another in whatever form of way it might be.
Yes.
No, appreciate it, man. And I think, yeah, just before we close, I know the guys want to go and have dinner. I mean, where do we find you guys? You know, if there's potential sponsors, you know, group rides that they want to maybe potentially want to join as well.
I think the easiest link will be our social media links on Instagram as RKC Collective. And then, yeah, connected to that, we have got constant posts of our community group will be posted on there. And we have all our rides posted on there. We will have generally maybe more than once a month, but generally we have once a month ride from Shavita's or head office or headquarters in Johannesburg from Broadacres. And then, yeah, generally that's where we grow our biggest community. And in most races, you'll find us either we'll advertise beforehand with where we have our gazebo, either Shavita or Met gazebos, and then yeah, you'll see us around. And definitely for social media, if you look for us, RKC Collective, all of us are, but athletes are under there as well, and all our athletes pages are linked to them as well. So it's
awesome.
It's a media feed as well.
Right. Awesome, guys. Have a good evening. Thank you so much again for your time, and we'll catch you on the flip side.
Don't be scared to approach us. That's generally what we try to. We want to create the community, and we're there for everyone to chat to and enjoy the time.
We'll see you guys this weekend. It will be the fast one the weekend, but this weekend will be
just came right for sight. Yeah.
Fun times.
Cheers, guys. Bye.
Cheers, guys.